Disney World, you need a credit card, and credit cards, the next sector of the financial industry to get crunched.
Some companies are now being very picky about just whom they give cards to. But seriously, how long will that last? Is this just a few months in the making, and then they'll end it and start getting very liberal about it?
Is Toby asleep? Oh, there he is.
He's talking to his computer rooster.
I was.
Our Fox panel back now to talk about it. All right, we'll keep you awake, Toby. What do you think about this credit card story? Front page of the New York Times, people aren't charging anymore, credit cards aren't lending. Do you think that this will last a long time?
Yeah, we've been talking about it for the last month and a half or so. In we call the Super Spender survey group that we follow very closely, in the last part of December, first part of January, we saw a very steep reduction in both intent to buy, meaning that how much they were going to spend, and also their savings rate coming up. When you couple that with the fact that you have a lot of the credit card people that have had foreclosures and et cetera, so their credit's already ruined. Why the hell are you paying your credit card if you're going through a house foreclosure or a credit line foreclosure? Your credit's ruined anyway, and you're seeing some of those people pull back, particularly in California and Florida. The trend that we've been following is that we should see a record year this year for credit card default. If we have that as we forecast it's going to be, you're going to have more failures. And by the way, Charlie, MasterCard, the company, doesn't have any credit exposure. They're just the issuer, so they don't have credit exposure. That's why that stock's done so well.
It has done very well. Also, it's done well because of the Asians and other foreigners. And
sure.
You know what's interesting? And maybe I'm getting off track here a little bit, but it's in people's nature to spend money that they don't have, and it's not just a U.S. phenomenon, Peter Schiff. It's all over the world, which is one of the reasons MasterCard's earnings have done so well. But there's no doubt that people are retrenching. There's absolutely no doubt people are retrenching. Even people who have a job, who aren't losing their homes because they're afraid that every time they turn on the news, that's all they hear about is doom and gloom.
Peter actually has some personal evidence that the credit cards are clamping down on lending, right?
Yeah, I'll give you my own story from last week. Remember, there is a subprime type crisis brewing in securitized credit card bonds. But last week, I have an Amex card that I use for my employees. And last week, American Express, without notifying me, reduced my limit by 85%. And we went to make a charge, and it got declined. And basically,
do you always pay off? Do you always pay off?
I have no balance on my card. I have paid it in full every month for over 5 years. I have an unblemished credit in my business, and personally, I don't have any debt.
What did they say?
Oh, yeah. I mean, I don't have any debt. I have no mortgage. I have no car loans. They basically said that because I was in an industry that was high risk, they were reducing my credit line to limit their exposure. So they're starting to factor in.
They also found out you were short the stock, too.
But the problem is, a lot of Americans, even those that are paying their credit cards on time, they think they have their credit card in case, they lose their job, they don't have any savings. People think they're going to be able to rely on their credit cards. They're not. People are going to have their limits reduced.
Not only does Peter pay on time, but he pays in solid gold.
Gold, right? Yeah.
Go figure.
He actually sends the physical gold bar in the mail.
You guys are missing the significance of what's going on. I mean, when people are going to have their credit limits reduced significantly, they can't use their charge cards anymore. People are going to find that they don't have that lifeline.
Toby, you were agreeing. Have you heard of this anecdotal evidence that financial companies are having trouble getting their limits to stay?
Well, we're surveying. We surveyed a group of people last week in our group, about 11,000 people, and asked, are you getting credit card reduction? Are you getting tighter numbers? And again, this is the higher end, over $100,000 household. And as a general rule, the answer is no. But the specific issue is that taking sort of the business risk and the other parts of it, where you're seeing a clampdown is on new credit and credit extension. People every year don't realize that they get their account reviewed. And if you have, have multiple credit cards going at the same time and have multiple balances, then they change the way they rate you, and you will get contraction in credit cards.
I only have 3 credit cards. I only have 3 credit cards.
All I know is since January of 2005, I have tallied the number of applications I've received in the mail, 746, including my 2 kids. I'm still waiting for my fish to get an application in the mail from these people. I think that they're not going to walk the walk. They may be talking that they're going to lower the applications.
It's going to stop.
They live off the fees. They live off the interest, and I think they're not going to slow things down going forward.
There is a credit crunch going on right now, and a lot of it is well-deserved. I mean, and certainly in terms of the mortgages. You don't want people who can't afford to pay off mortgages getting mortgages. The same is true with credit cards.
Well, the same is true.
Some of it is rationality.
By the same token, though, this is some business models, though. You know, if you're Capital One, it is your business model to keep sending these out. And I'm sure that 700 some out that Gary K got probably came from Capital One.
But
so
you know, the bottom line,
people, you can't just change your business model overnight and say we're a credit card company, but we're not going to extend credit cards.
The bottom line is the people who have been supplying all the credit, who have been buying all these securitized bonds, are going to get burned. Americans simply can't pay back the trillions that we've borrowed on these credit cards. We don't have the income. We don't have the money. And the assets aren't there. And so once the people who have been lending the money realize that this is a bad business, they're not going to want the exposure anymore. They're going to cut back.
Toby, go ahead.
Peter. Look at the credit card industry is built on a default rate number. The reason why they have an 18%.
Yeah, but it's going to go up, way up.
Thank
you,
the
default
Peter.
Rate's going to go way up.
My turn. Take a breath. The bigger issue here is that their business is built to have delinquencies. That's how the credit card industry works. They rate credit all the time. The same argument, Peter, you're using today, you could have made 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 15 years ago. I believe me, I've heard you do it for 15 years. Okay?
No, you haven't heard me do it for 15 years.
The issue is, let me finish, Peter.
This is the same issue that I made with subprime, and you guys laughed it off. You couldn't see the subprime crisis coming when it was right in front of your face.
It's a completely different business.
Yeah, but no, you were saying the exact same thing. You were laughing at me when I predicted a subprime. You can't see this.
It is down 320.